You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network. Are you listening to this podcast on your commute to work? On a walk to the store? Do you ever think about the strangers around you and how your life could change just by saying hello? That's the premise of the new play, The Coast Starlight, now in previews at Lincoln Center Theater. Set aboard a long-distance train, the play examines the power of human connection and the ways in which we guess at each other's lives. Written by Keith Bunnan and directed by Tyne Raffaelli, The Coast Starlight is playing now through April 16th only. Tickets and more information at lct.org.
Mobile phone companies say they offer home internet. But if their internet comes from a cell phone network, you should know. It's just phone internet, not home internet. Keep your home up to speed with Cox. Cox internet is faster and has more reliable download speeds than 5G home internet. Cox is the real home internet you're looking for. Based on Cox analysis of Ookla speed test intelligence data, Q3 2022, and Cox serviceable areas. Visit cox.com/internet for details.
I was going to go into banking. I got my business degree in finance, and I was going to go into banking. I'm not a tweed business suit kind of guy. I'm just not. If there's not a splash of color, then we're all screwed.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Was It Chance, the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. I'm Heather Vickery, and if he's done eating...
No, I'm done eating. Sorry, I was holding in a burp. I'm Alan Seal.
Oh, God. Please edit that out.
No! This is real life.
Oh, people, I'm sorry.
And I'm Alan Seal. Heather and I started out as two perfect strangers who met by chance and had a nice, lovely dinner with some friends where we burped and laughed and drank and embraced opportunities. Listen in as we chat with other successful people about the risks they've taken to put themselves on a path to a healthy and happy diet.
Oh, my God.
Huh?
Pizza's not healthy.
Thank you. Thank you, special guest.
How do you know this wasn't a vegan pizza? What was that look?
Listen in as we chat with other successful people about the risks they've taken to put themselves on a path to creative success. We do not talk about digestion, hopefully ever again.
My little one, his tummy hurts a lot. I think he has is there a mild norovirus? Is that
I think it's called anxiety.
No. It's like when he eats.
Oh.
Is that? Yeah, it's only when he eats. I think it's dairy related.
Is this a child or a dog?
That's a great
I'm
question.
not sure.
It's a child.
It's a child.
Okay. Wait. Let's introduce our guest. Y'all,
Okay.
This is fun. First of all, I feel like this is the podcast interview that we have been actively chasing for the better part of half a year. We did this interview with our special guest, and Alan lost the audio files.
Listen. I mean, we need to talk about this. I'm going to turn off the microphone real quick. All right, here we go. Microphone's off. Heather, you're calling me out. Don't appreciate it. I hit delete on my Zoom recordings, and this was the one time in months that I use Zoom, so I forgot. My bad.
I know.
Okay,
It's
I'm turning the
okay.
mic back on now. Mic's back on.
I hope y'all are going to leave all this in.
Oh, he's going to leave it in, Donnie. He's going to leave it in. And then your friends that you say, go listen to this interview are going to be like, why did you have me listen to that?
And they're like,
No.
I love vegan pizza. They're going
worth
to
it.
tweet. They're going to TikTok at us
Oh.
and say they love vegan pizza.
Aren't you the one that told me you had a hard stop?
I do.
Talking.
I do, but we have an hour and a half. Do you think can we talk an hour and a half about vegan pizza?
Oh my God. Okay. So Donnie Brown is very patient, if you can't already tell, because he's sitting here not hanging up on us, which is a bonus. This is the second time we've interviewed him, but he's a friend. He's a friend of the podcast. He's a friend back from the wedding industry. And back in the day, I used to watch my fair share of reality TV shows. And Donnie was the very first wedding planner on a wedding planning reality TV show called Whose Wedding Is It Anyway? So who's listened? Listened, watched. I don't know. You're fun to watch, Donnie. It was on the Style Network.
So I should
Fast
go on TikTok.
forward to last August. which is backwards now. But fast forward from when you were on Whose Wedding Is It Anyway? Donnie and I found ourselves on the same panel together celebrating our friend Eddie Babbage and his podcast, The Wedding Industry Insider. And I was like, Donnie, I love you. I'm a fan. Come be on Was It Chance? And you said, yeah, sure, babe. So Donnie just lights up the screen. He's a heart stealer. He's funny as hell.
He is cute. He's super cute.
Super cute. We did not connect when we were all in Dallas together, which was really sad, but maybe next time.
I think I had the flu.
Yeah.
I think you were sick. Yeah. But I'll just give a quick on your bio. Donnie is considered one of the leading wedding and event planners in the industry today. And I know a lot of them, and it's still true. With over 3 decades of experience, he's helped shape the landscape of the modern wedding, and he's a serious trendsetter. He's been profiled and quoted in every fashion and wedding magazine you can find on the newsstand. He's the author of Donnie Brown Weddings, From Couture to Cake. And when not planning weddings and other events, he travels the world for speaking engagements and has a really funny Instagram account. Hi, Donnie.
Hi.
Why haven't you done TikTok yet?
Oh.
I don't know. I just haven't been that interested in it, to be honest with you. To be honest, I don't do a lot of video on Instagram either. I don't know.
You just post on stories.
I mean,
I follow your stories.
You've got the Lukes. You've got the Lukes.
You've got me exhausted today. I don't look very good. I just came running back from an errand that took all afternoon. So
that's okay. Well, I think you got all of your wedding or all of your video stuff out when you were on reality TV. So,
well, what's out there? They hid most of it.
Have they hid it? We can't get back old episodes of Whose Wedding Is It Anyway?
No, not really. I mean, you can get them on the NBC app, I think, but you can't get them anywhere else. NBC Universal took away everything from YouTube, and they won't let them publish any of it. And I think they're saving it for some big something somewhere.
Well, they've got the Peacock app out now. Actually, I know this.
It's not on there.
It's not on there either?
Mm-mm. It was on the NBC app 6 months ago.
Well, that's some
the
bullshit.
Whole series. Yeah. But you had to pay to watch it.
Because they're fun. So you grew up in Texas. You're a Texas boy. You're still in
Lubbock,
Texas.
Lubbock,
Born and raised. Texas. How does a young man in Texas end up being one of the world's leading event and wedding planners?
Well, it all started when I grew up in Lubbock, Texas. If you don't know anything about Lubbock, Texas, it has the largest cattle feedlot in the southern United States.
Largest cattle feed. What is a cattle feed?
It's a cattle farm.
Oh.
And there's 25,000 head of cattle in this farm. And that's where all of the best prime beef from the southern United States comes from. And a funny story about that is that when the wind usually came from the west and the farm is off to the east of town, so the wind would come to the west and we never even knew it. But my grandparents used to always say, "Oh, the wind changed." That's because the wind turned around the other direction.
And you could smell it.
You could smell it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, it was not pretty. And it didn't happen that often, but occasionally it did. So the wind changed. Anyway, so when I was 16 years old, a friend of the family owned a flower shop, and they had 3 weddings that weekend. And they had a couple of people out sick, and one person quit, and they were really short-handed, and they asked if I wanted to come help out. So I did, and I just loved it. And although I was doing the crap work, I was hauling around heavy stuff, and I was a grunt person. I was 16 years old. But I loved everything about it. I loved seeing it all come together. I just loved it. And so I started helping them on weekends for pay when they needed me. And later on, after college, I decided I was going to go into banking. I got my business degree in finance, and I was going to go into banking. And
I can't picture you in banking.
No. After I got out of school, I was like, oh, hell no. There's no way I'm going to do this. I'm not a tweed business suit kind of guy. I'm just not. If there's not a splash of color, then we're all screwed. So anyway, I got out of college. I moved to Dallas, and I opened my very first floral business. I actually went to work for somebody for a while, asked her to be a partner. She said no, and I left and went and opened my own flower business. Later on, she said, I can't believe I said no.
Right to you.
Yeah. I was successful.
What's she doing now?
She sold her business, spent all the money, and now lives on Social Security.
Ooh, karma's a bitch.
And if she listens to this, Donnie's not sorry.
Yeah. No, I like her.
I think it
an
worked
old
out.
friend.
It worked
Yeah,
out.
we get past those things in life. If you harbor ill will, life's really long and hard.
Oh, I know. I was
top
just
wedding planner.
teasing.
So anyway, I opened my first flower shop. I was doing lots of floral work, lots of weddings, lots of events. And at some point, they trusted me and they started saying, why don't you be my wedding planner? And I kept saying, no, 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 no. There's people that do that. I do this. And they said, yeah, but I trust you more than I do the wedding planners I'm running into. So I did a couple of them. And when his wedding came along, they called me and they said, we keep hearing your name. We're in Dallas doing auditions and everyone keeps saying your name. And it's because they were saying they were looking for Franck from Father of the Bride. And so everyone said, oh, well, have you met Donnie Brown yet? So they came and they did my audition. And 2 days later, they called back and offered me the gig. And that first season, I kept saying, I'm not a wedding planner, I'm a floral designer. And they kept editing that out. And they played me as the wedding planner that whole season. And then after that, every bride that came to me wanted me to plan her wedding. And that was it. And even though weddings aren't my favorite kind of event to do, I love all kinds of events. They can be quite stressful. But I became known as the wedding guy. Mm-hmm. So post-pandemic, I'm doing more non-wedding stuff, which is kind of fun. I'm enjoying it. This weekend, it's a 75th surprise birthday party for one of Dallas's most affluent and well-known women.
I'm trying to figure out who that is, but I don't know anybody in Texas.
I want to see all the pictures.
You wouldn't know her. They're actually a name that you'd recognize. It's a worldwide known name. But her son. They hired me to do the son's wedding 6 years ago, and we were completely finished with planning the wedding, and it was 3 or 4 weeks out, and the bride and groom talked for the first time about how they were going to raise their children, his being Jewish and her being Catholic.
What?
And that didn't go well, and they broke up.
What?
Mom paid off the wedding. Since we were so close, there was nothing, she couldn't get out.
It was probably a multiple 6-figure wedding, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so she paid off the wedding and said, I hope you enjoyed your wedding because that's the only one I'm buying you. And that was it. So he called me a few months ago and said, it's her 75th birthday, and I think this is the time to do something really nice while she's young enough to still enjoy it.
Sure.
So we've planned a knock-down, drag-out, amazing party for her.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so whose wedding is it anyway? What catapulted you into the wedding planner extraordinaire that you are?
It certainly helped. What my first actual jump into notoriety was doing Leanne Rimes' first wedding. That's what did it. And with all of the InStyle magazine and people and all the stuff that went on, I was literally being seen by everyone. And suddenly people started paying attention to me as real and not just this kid that was trying to become a wedding planner. But I did her wedding and I loved everything about it. And it was so stressful, though, I almost had a nervous breakdown out of the wedding. I mean, it was just like, there's a point at which there's so much going on. There's so many moving pieces, and any little thing that goes wrong, you take personally. So, but it was an amazing, amazing wedding.
How do you get connected to Leanne Rimes?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Leanne doesn't just call you up.
No, well, she heard about me from a couple of different
She's
places.
like, I
The
need somebody
hotel that
who's worked on a cattle farm,
yeah,
Knows when
I
the wind
never
is
worked on a
who
changed.
knows
cattle farm. No, no,
flowers.
no, no, no. No, she heard from me two places. She heard from me through the hotel, and she also heard from me through my old friend Dixie Carter when she was alive.
Dixie Carter.
Yeah, Dixie and I were friends the last 20 years of her life. I loved her.
Oh, I love her too.
I've got
Designing
pictures.
women, y'all.
I got pictures of her and I dancing cheek to cheek. You'd love it.
Aw.
She was wonderful.
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more of the episode. Are you listening to this podcast on your commute to work? On a walk to the store? Do you ever think about the strangers around you and how your life could change just by saying hello? That's the premise of the new play, The Coast Starlight, now in previews at Lincoln Center Theater. Set aboard a long-distance train, the play examines the power of human connection and the ways in which we guess at each other's lives. Written by Keith Bunnan and directed by Tyne Raffaelli, The Coast Starlight is playing now through April 16th only. Tickets and more information at lct.org.
Mobile phone companies say they offer home internet. But if their internet comes from a cell phone network, you should know. It's just phone internet, not home internet. Keep your home up to speed with Cox. Cox internet is faster and has more reliable download speeds than 5G home internet. Cox is the real home internet you're looking for. Based on Cox analysis of Ookla speed test intelligence data Q3 2022 and Cox serviceable areas, visit cox.com/internet for details.
And now we're back.
But anyway, and she was from Tennessee and she had met Leanne Rimes in Nashville. And so I think she threw my name into the ring. When Leanne came to Dallas, she interviewed 4 people and picked me. And we had the best time together and have been friends ever since.
You're still friends with Leanne Rimes?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love her. And
What is
Eddie.
what does a friendship between Donnie Brown and Leanne Rimes look like? Is it like, oh my God, I saw this funny thing, I got to text Leanne? Like what does that look like?
Well, she's traveling all the time and doing stuff. I don't bother her a lot, but when she's coming to town, I always reach out to her. And when something funny happens or when she does a new album or anything, I'm always in communication with her. I can tell you the last time I saw her was our mutual friend's mother died. And this was her best the mother was the mother of these 2 girls that were Leanne's best friends growing up. And I knew all of them, and I knew the mother that died, and they asked me to come to the funeral, and I agreed, and I drove to the funeral, and Leanne was in town, and we sat together and we giggled and laughed like a couple of schoolgirls, and in the middle of a funeral, because Leanne's very down to earth and very fun, and she didn't give a shit. Between the church and the cemetery, I was driving my own car. She was in an SUV and she had somebody else with her, and they disappeared for 45 minutes. We had to wait for them because they stopped off to get a tequila at a club on their way over to
Why not?
because of course they did. And then after the funeral was over, before they'd even lowered the casket into the ground, we start all taking photos on the green AstroTurf that's laid down for the outdoor funeral with the chairs, and we're all over there taking pictures. And there's one with me and Rindy, her friend Rindy, and another girl that we know, and Leanne and me, and I'm down on my knee, and Leanne has her leg draped over my shoulder.
Well, we might need that picture to promote this episode.
I'll give it to you. It's on my Instagram.
Let's get it. Let's get that picture.
She's wonderful. She really is wonderful. And so really meeting her helped a lot because people took me seriously all of a sudden. But then his wedding came along and there we go.
Were you taking yourself seriously by this point? Because I know that you were, you're like, I want to do more than flowers. I want to do more. I want to, you kind of had a trajectory from the beginning, it sounds like, but you weren't.
I did. I just wasn't sure if I knew what it was yet. But certainly his wedding helped immensely. And it's weird because being a Southern boy from a small town and being in that situation for the first time, I was smarter than most. I I knew that if a network had a chance, they would take the drama over the relationship. I knew that. And so
Yeah.
I was very careful to make sure that I had someone that would never let that happen to me. And the executive producer of the show from the production company side, he and I became very, very close friends. And he protected me tooth and nail to the point where he almost lost his job at one point because they were all like, look, this would make for great TV. And he said, we're not doing it. And he cut it. And then he introduced me to the executive vice president at NBC Universal, who was the network side. And she and I became close friends too. So I had these people protecting me from the vultures that had their hands in the pie. And it worked. I was the only cast member on that show that started out in season 1, went all the way through season 11, also did all 3 seasons of its spinoff, and never had a bad episode, never got in trouble for anything. There were people that actually lost their careers due to that show.
How does that happen? You mean like
drama?
Like it shows that how they communicate poorly, or that they're mean to other people?
It's editing.
No, I'll tell you, people when they get into television for the first time, they suddenly think that they're the reason the show is a success. And so they use that to try to benefit themselves. So every season the casting director would call you and say, okay, we've got you slated for however many episodes you're going to do. And they told her she got 3 episodes, and she said, I want at least 5. I'm not going to mention her name. She said, I want at least 5. And he said, I'm sorry, but they won't let me give you more than 3. And, there were 2 planners per episode in the beginning. It was 30 minutes and 30 minutes, switching back and forth from one wedding to the other. And so she said, do you have any effing idea who I am? I made this show. And she was screaming at him on the phone. So he said, I'll call you back. He came back and said, we've agreed to give you an additional episode, but the caveat is it has to be the same episode you're in, but you get the whole hour. But it has to be 2 weddings, and they have to be the same weekend.
Wow.
And she agreed to do it. Well, the only way she could make it work, she's in Southern California, and the only way she could make it work is one of them was way north, and one of them was down close to San Diego. And so when they started shooting it, she was driving from one meeting to another, to get back and forth to where she had to be. And when she was late to literally everything, they would put up a clock, and you'd see a clock winding down on the screen. They nailed her to a cross.
Wow.
She ended up losing it all. The hate mail that came for her, they let me see some of the hate mail. It was
wow.
awful. It
Oh
was
my
just
gosh.
awful. Yeah.
Well, Leanne Rimes shouldn't have acted like that.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
Stop. Leanne would never act like that.
No,
Okay.
Leanne's not that kind of person. This
goes
woman was only on season 1 and 2, and then she was gone.
Yeah, well, my wife and I right now we're watching whatever that aggregate crappy reality like the dating aggregate show on Netflix, where it's like taking everybody from different dating reality shows and putting them together. Perfect Match, is that what it is? Perfect Match.
I don't watch reality TV.
I don't either. Not really. I watch cooking competitions or pottery competitions, but not
Oh, yeah,
dating
well, I
ones.
do too. MasterChef, I love, but
I know.
reality TV is not real.
Right.
Right,
So
and you
I
know
don't
that
watch
better
it.
than anybody. It really is all in the editing, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's my point. I mean, I think the first question that the ask people. Okay, well, I'm not going to speculate. How do you audition for reality TV? Like, A, you have to look a certain way, and B, you have to be a certain way.
There are people that you never meet that make those decisions, and they literally get camera time for you, and they put it into the hat, and then they go through and they watch everybody, and they figure out who's going to work for whatever they need, and then they assign you to the job. But in my case, they came to my house and they said, "We're looking for Frank from Father of the Bride," and so I put on a pair of black leather pants and a silver concho belt and that was over 20 years ago. and I put on a little tight black shirt, and I had my hair all done and had a cross hanging from my ear. They walked in and they set me on a stool in front of my fireplace, and they asked me a bunch of questions, and I they gave it to me. And I got it. I just did as gay as I could possibly get for them on camera. And I asked them later, but while we were in production, I said, "What made you choose me?" And they said, "Well, you just are so gay. We just loved you." So when we got into filming, they were like, "Go gay," and they would actually bring a cocktail and put it in my hand if I was not gay enough
Wow.
to try to get me there.
Did the cocktail itself make you gay, or did drinking the cocktail make the gay come out?
You lose some of that cover that you put up,
Inhibition.
you know?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the inhibitions. You lose some of that when you've had a couple of drinks.
Well,
These days, they just hand me a piece of a gummy, but back then it was a vodka cranberry.
Well, I'm heading down a fun path because I like gummies. And
gummy, but wouldn't a gummy just like mellow you out?
Like, I think
whatever,
it depends. Whatever, Bridezilla. Whatever.
Depends on what you're chewing on.
Hey, this bitch doesn't even know.
Yo, she doesn't
those Delta
know
8s, those are like pile up and watch TV.
Oh my goodness.
Was it a big chance for you to go on the show, or were you just like when you started to head down the reality TV path, was it like I can go this way, or was it just like, all right, I'm just going to do this because I need the opportunity? How did that kind of play in?
It would have been insane not to do it, because it was a way to get my face in front of a lot of people, you know. And that show, the first episodes of those shows, and this being on cable, the first episodes were 5 million viewers, and then they kept repeating them over and over. And I think they told me at one point there was over 20 million viewers watching each episode. That's a lot of people. And that first year, my phone started ringing more. And we were asking them, "Where did you hear about us?" And that first year got much busier. The first season, it was by a production company called Lion Entertainment out of London. And they literally followed us around with cameras in our home, in the car, everywhere we went.
Oof.
Every meeting, everything. And it was awful. And so when the second season came up, I told them, no, thank you. I just didn't want to do that again. And so they did the second season, and the network said, something's not working. You know, we can't continue this path. And so they fired Lion Entertainment, and they brought in True Entertainment from New York, which is part of the Endemol family. And they brought them in, and then all of a sudden I'm getting a call from a new casting director saying, "We know you didn't do season 2, and we understand why, but we're changing the format of the show." And so I said, "Okay, tell me about it." And they did, and they said it's 2 episodes, or 2 weddings per episode, 2 planners per episode, hour-long episodes, 30 minutes worth of airtime each. And they said, we will schedule it out to where you have 2 hours of camera time here, 4 hours of camera time here, and it all goes on in the space of a week, and then we're gone. And that's it.
So they're not following you everywhere.
Yeah. And they said, if there's any personal life included, it's written into a loose script of what we need to get. And I said, okay, I can deal with that. I just don't want 2 cameras following me when I go in the bathroom. I mean, you know, literally they were everywhere. So this was better. And so I came back and I did season 3 and the rest of the series.
You did 11 seasons.
I did 10 of 11.
10 out of 11.
I didn't do 2.
Okay, right.
But then around season 8, they did a spinoff called Married Away, which was the destination wedding version of Whose Wedding Is It Anyway? And so we're going off to Italy, and we're going off to Jamaica, and we're going off everywhere doing this show. And one of the producers told me, he was such a bitchy queen, I couldn't stand him. He told me that they were getting rid of Whose Wedding Is It Anyway? And they were going to Married Away, and that he was going to be the executive producer of the new show. And if I wanted to stay on, I'd have to play my cards right.
Oh,
That's
fuck
what he said to me.
that.
Yeah.
That sounds dirty.
How,
It sounds like
how
an
it
interesting
ended up-
chance encounter. What did you do?
Yeah. Well, I called him on it. I called the powers that be that he didn't know I was close to, and they fired him.
Oh,
And they also shut down Married Away, the spinoff, after 3 seasons, and kept going with Who's Wedding.
wow.
So you're
You know,
responsible for the total of 11 seasons.
I just felt like Faye Dunaway, it was like, don't fuck with me, fellas. This ain't my first time at the rodeo.
Oh my God, I love you. That's so funny. Well, that's one of the things that I appreciate about you. And so this show was a chance, taking intentional risk for creative success. You are really a what you see is what you get kind of person. And you don't take any shit. Where does that come from? And how does risk taking fall into that?
I get a lot of that from my mother. My mother is a very, very strong Southern woman, and she owned her own business and worked like a dog and drove a big, giant Lincoln Town car with huge hair. And, she was just, that was her.
My
That was my
dad had a
mother.
Lincoln Town car. I love those things.
Yep. She's still with me, but my friends called her Sergeant Brown because when she would smile at them really big, and as soon as they'd turn their back, she would burn a hole through their back with her eyes, and they could feel it. They knew that she was just nice to their face.
That's the Southern bless
That's
your
very
heart.
Bless your
Southern.
heart.
Bless your
Yeah.
heart.
Yes,
That's
yes,
bless
yes,
your
yes.
heart. And
Yes.
reading between the lines, it is, you fucking bitch, get off my lawn.
Exactly. And so that was her back then. She's not like that anymore, but where she's 84, I think now. But she, that's I grew up emulating her. I thought my father was weak, and he would settle into something and then change his mind, settle into something else. But my mother was focused, single-minded, and driven in everything. And so I grew up with that kind of wonderful role model right in front of my face, and I adored her. And then her parents, my maternal grandparents, owned a grocery store their whole lives. And when they retired, they started selling products that you can't get in other stores, and they would deliver them to people in lower income areas. My grandparents are the ones that taught me that Black people have the same skin as the rest of us. They taught me that everybody's the same. When I lived in a part of the country that, called them terrible names. But I learned very young that everybody's the same.
How do you feel about so much of what we hear from people that we have on the show is that being open to building strong connections and relationships has been a huge guide and touch point in their life and their creative success. Would that be the same for you?
Relationships are everything.
Yeah.
That's how you move forward in life. That's why extroverts tend to do really well, because they're out there building relationships, whereas introverts tend to stay in a smaller sphere of life. I was always the extrovert.
Introverts can do it too. They just do it differently.
They just do it differently. But
Sounds like
as
a
an
bumper
extrovert,
I'm an introvert. So
what are those bumper
I
stickers
don't see
like?
you as an introvert at all.
I'm an extroverted introvert. It's about energy.
Yeah,
like I have to really manage my energy before I can go out and be on stage or be engaging with people. And I'm almost always a no to socializing and networking. Like I have to really go, okay, I can do it.
You have to think about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't crave it. I didn't miss it during COVID. My partner was going fucking insane. She wanted to socialize all the time. And I was like, I'm good. I'm fine by myself.
I don't crave socializing either. And there's a lot of times where I will bail on something I had agreed to go do because I just can't muster the energy to do it.
So as somebody who's like gluing all of the pieces of an event together, that's got to be draining sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, it can be. But, these days, before the pandemic, I had a massive staff of people in offices with a
Massive
studio
of
downtown with
people.
more
Okay, yeah,
people,
right.
employees,
Jeez.
and they were doing all the work, and I was overseeing all the things that were going on. And so I spent the majority of my time sitting at my desk reviewing what was going on with each one of the events and writing notes and giving it back to them. I was so involved in so many things, and we would have 60 weddings on our roster or 70 weddings on our roster.
Wow.
That's a lot of
That's a lot.
weddings.
That's insane.
And so we had all these things going on, and I was spread pretty thin. We'd have we'd have 4 weddings on a Saturday night, and I'd have complete crews, both planning and decor, in all 4 locations. And I'm in my Mercedes, tootling around, going back and forth, dropping $100 bill on each valet guy, so that when I zoomed in, they would just park my car right there and let me go. And then as soon as I came out, they'd toss my keys to me and I'd be on my way again. Because all
Wow.
I did all day long from 9 in the morning until midnight was drive from venue to venue to venue to venue to venue to venue.
That sounds awful to me.
Yeah, it was my life. It was fun to go in and be able to see the status of what was going on in the wedding, but you didn't get to actually enjoy the whole event that we planned. These days, I'm right there with you. You hire me to do your wedding, you're hiring me. I have someone that assists me, but you're only really communicating with me. And I'm only doing 1 event per month.
Wow.
12 events a year is enough for me to do by myself.
Listen, there's 2 things in life that are my goals that I want to consider as having made it in life. The first one is walking out of a restaurant and having the valet just throw me the keys and having me hop in my Mercedes. That hasn't
Knowing
happened.
you by name everywhere you go.
Yeah, that hasn't happened yet. The other is having an ice dispenser in my fridge door. So I've got that. I'm halfway there, but I still need the Mercedes and the valet.
How is that relevant to anything?
Every 4 and 5-star hotel in Dallas, Fort Worth, when I drive up, the valet says, "Mr. Brown, it's good to see you."
Of course they do. Of course they
They want
do.
that hundo back in their pocket. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't do the hundreds on a daily basis. Just
talk
when I
about
needed to zip in and
relationships.
out.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And I built a lot of very solid relationships.
All right, one more quick break. Hang on a second.
Mobile phone companies say they offer home internet. But if their internet comes from a cell phone network, you should know. It's just phone internet, not home internet. Keep your home up to speed with Cox. Cox internet is faster and has more reliable download speeds than 5G home internet. Cox is the real home internet you're looking for. Based on Cox analysis of Ookla speed test intelligence data Q3 2022 and Cox serviceable areas, visit cox.com/internet for details.
All right, here's the rest of the episode. You've got the book, Donnie Brown Weddings, From Couture to the Cake, and you've got another book in the works, or is that the other book done yet?
Well, no, it's not done yet. There's 2 more books that I've been working on. One is hilarious stories from my career.
What is the wildest thing that's ever happened at any of your weddings? I feel like you maybe shared one of those stories in the initial interview that we did.
I might have. There was a wedding that I ended up not being at the wedding, but it was the groom's family owned a big car company in Dallas, and the bride was an ex-prostitute, a Chinese ex-prostitute, who was now marrying money. Yeah, you just have to throw that part in because you have to get a visualization of this girl. Gold jewelry all over her neck and rings on every finger, the whole bit.
Older gentleman?
No, he was in his 40s probably, and she was in her late 20s, early 30s.
All right.
And he had her in a white Cadillac with red leather interior, convertible with gold accoutrements all over. I mean, it was just tragic.
Tragic.
But they hired me to do the wedding, and this was over 20 years ago. They hired me to do the wedding, and she would show up to meetings with her son, and her son was maybe 6 or 7 years old. But anyway, she just wanted everything. This was her first chance to have money, and she just wanted everything. And if I could think of it, she wanted it. She was a big fan of the TV show Dallas. So she wanted her ceremony to be at South Fork Ranch, which, you can do events there all the time. So she didn't want it in one of the big barns. So she wanted it on the lawn outside the mansion. So she wouldn't spring for a tent. So the guests were in the sun. She wanted it to be bathed in sunlight. It was Labor Day weekend.
Oh my
It
God.
was 98 degrees with 75% humidity. And she came riding around on a horse and carriage and made them stop at the mansion so she could go into the mansion and tour around the mansion by herself, because cocktails were going to be in the mansion before everybody moved to the venue where the reception was. And she didn't want to be in there with everybody else. She wanted it all to herself for a few minutes. So she got to walk through the mansion all alone in her wedding dress with her bouquet. She's walking around the mansion. Then she comes back out. In the meantime, I've got children passing out from the heat and people running. Literally, I saw 2 people with a child in their arms, limp, running to get inside because it was so hot.
Ugh.
It was just awful. I ended up passing this wedding on to an associate to do because I couldn't deal with her. She was just not reasonable in any way. So here's what happened the night of the wedding. That happened. Then they get in the limousine, and all the guests are going over to this private club for the reception. And I've seen video of all this, so I know the stories are true. They all got over to the reception. The bride and groom were in the car. All the guests had already gone upstairs. The bride and groom were in the car, and they apparently were doing drugs in the car, and they got into a fight in the car. And when they opened the car door at the venue, he kicked her out onto the street, onto the sidewalk, out of the car.
The groom did that to the bride?
The groom, you could see his foot on the video camera. You could see his foot kicking her in the side and just kicking her out of the car. And she hits the ground. She gets up. She slammed the door and then kicked it with her heel and dinged the door of the limousine. A bunch of the crystal was broken inside. I mean, it was a mess. So he gets out of the car. They go inside. They go into a private room where they come to a meeting of the minds and decide that they're going to be nice and play right. So they come upstairs. They have their first dance. They're dancing. They're having a good time. Everything seems like it's going okay. And then suddenly that dance was over, and the bride walked over to the mother and was talking to his mother. And then they start having a screaming match at each other like this, fingers pointing. I don't know what that conversation was about. The bride and the groom go off into a private room again, where I'm certain there were straws involved. And they
Nose
went in
candy.
this room. They came out, and suddenly everybody was okay again. And they did the cake cutting, and the bride was still mad at the mother-in-law. So the bride and groom do their dance. Then she steps aside. The groom and his mother are out there dancing. And the bride reached over and grabbed a hunk of cake. And I've seen this. This really happened. She grabbed a hunk of cake and slung it at the mother. And just as they turned around, the groom got it in the side of the face because they were dancing, but she missed. Oh, it was a mess.
Talk about reality TV show. Too bad you missed
then
that
the
one.
groom and the groom had to push his mother out of the way, went over there and started screaming at the bride. The bride walked over to the bar, asked for a drink. They were getting her some water or something. Anyway, she picked it. They wouldn't serve her any more alcohol. So she picked up a glass and threw it behind the bar. The bar was all mirror with glass shelves. Well, you know what happened. One breaks, the whole thing comes down, and all the alcohol and all the glassware and everything shattered. It was at that moment that the venue said, "This wedding's over. You may all leave now." Wow. And they threw everybody out.
Wow.
So here's where it gets really good.
Oh my God, it's not good yet?
It's not good yet. They decide that they're going to see half the guests, like 70 of the guests, are employees of the car company. They're on the clock. They have to be there, even though they wanted to leave a long time ago, I think. So they're on their way to the venue, to the honeymoon night hotel is where they were going. Because the bride and groom thought, well, we've spent so much money putting guests up here that they'll have some kind of food and beverage for us at the hotel. but they didn't even bother to call them
Oh
en
my
route.
God.
They just started driving there with a caravan of cars behind them. They get to the hotel. They walk inside, and they're loud. I mean, you've got 70 people all really loud coming into the hotel all at once. And so the floor manager came up and she said, "We need to be served." And he said, "Do you have a reservation for this party?" And she said, "No." And he said, "I can't accommodate 70 people all at once right now. We would have needed some notice of some sort." And she said, "I want to speak to the manager." So the general manager came out. He said the exact same thing to her. And so she punched him in the face.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, directly across the face. They called the police. She got handcuffed and put into a squad car and taken away
Wow.
on her wedding day.
Wow.
You know what the best part was? They forgot to get the marriage license. We told them to get the marriage license. They never went and
Wait,
got the marriage
in
license.
They were
advance?
never
Like-
married.
So
in
they weren't
advance. In advance. And they lied to me and told me they had it, which they didn't. What I heard was, I don't know this for a fact, I heard they went and got the marriage license and got the minister to sign the marriage license after the fact. But I don't know for sure that wedding ever even took.
I was going to say,
What?
that sounds like a blessing in disguise.
Probably.
Where you can
I'm
just be
sure I'm sure his mother was like, "Get the hell away from
Yeah,
her as
right,
fast
like-
as you can go.
like, you're not legally
We-
married? Yeah, like, this is done.
This is a sign from God, baby."
What? Wow. You must
You
have had a
wanted the
lot
crazy one. I gave you a crazy one.
Wasn't there something with a helicopter? So a bride wanted to be dropped
the
from a
one where
helicopter.
yeah. Well, she wanted to parachute from a helicopter, which is impossible to do. But so she then decided at a low height she would jump, and they actually had the bride in a bush with her
It was like a
veil
stunt
and everything
double.
on, and had a stunt double jump out of a helicopter behind the bush with a veil and hair and everything, and then she popped up looking perfect with no wind damage or anything.
Oh, that's amazing.
That kind of reminds me of the Queen doing the 007 stuff. Do you guys
Oh yeah,
remember that video?
Yeah.
Where she jumps out of a helicopter?
That sense of humor.
Yeah. That's funny.
At least they have a good sense of humor about all of that.
Yeah, they do.
That's amazing.
She did. I don't think a lot of other people in that family do, but whatever.
Why is it that weddings bring out, I was going to say the worst, but they do
No, but
bring
they
out
do.
the best sometimes.
Not really.
They do. They
Just
do.
not
really.
They-
Come on, Donnie.
First of all, it starts out as a celebration, and that turns into alcohol use, and some people drug use, and then they start doing crazy things. I mean, that's why they call them bar fights, because they happen in bars because people are drinking too much, and
Right.
any little thing that wouldn't normally bother you ends up bothering you. It's the same scenario. Everybody's been drinking all night, and suddenly little things that normally wouldn't bother you suddenly bother you.
Everything's
But even
stressed
in the
out.
planning, it's so that's why I think a good wedding planner is worth their weight in gold, because it is so stressful. There's so much emotion and expectations. Everybody has their own expectations of what they want. So
Well,
You
and you've
s-
got a bride who's got people on both sides of her. She's got her friends, her family, his friends, his family, and they're all focusing their ire on her.
how heteronormative of you, Donnie.
It's true.
Only in
And
a
I
straight
said-
wedding?
I hear this all the time.
Right,
I
no,
hear
I
this
know.
all
I'm
the
just
time
teasing
from
you.
brides.
Yeah.
And they say, I don't know how, without you, I could not possibly do this. Because I just tell them, I'll deal with it.
You just need somebody to like keep it sane.
And to
Well, you
and to
do.
lay down the law, right? Like so that the client doesn't have to say, I'm not the one that says you can't bring your kids. My wedding planner told me we couldn't have kids at this venue, right?
Mhm.
Whatever
Exactly.
it is.
You just
Yeah.
pin the rap on me because I don't care what they think of me. My job is to make her happy and the groom happy and to give them the wedding they asked for. And if it means lying to somebody to get them off their back, I will.
That's so
I'm okay
funny.
with that.
Well, Donnie, it's been fun to have you back. Thank you. I'm sorry that we had to do it twice, but anytime we get to hang out with you is a treat for all of us. So many
we can do
fun,
it. We can do it a lot more than twice.
crazy. We
Huh?
could hang
What?
out more. It's hanging out with Donnie we can do that as much as we all want to.
Oh, hanging out. Yes. Hanging out. Yes.
You don't. Oh my God. You guys, do you see what I have to deal with on a consistent basis? It's crazy.
You know, he didn't take his pizza out even once after the beginning.
Oh, what a good boy he is. He's such a good boy. Donnie,
Plus,
how can folks find you, connect with you if they want to check out your books? Or, I mean, I think you should write a funny story about all these crazy ass wedding things, but.
Oh, well, yeah. The book is called Stumbling Down the Aisle.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I've already got a lot of the stories done, and I'm writing a cookbook.
So how can folks find you?
Major cook. DonnieBrown.com, DONNIE Brown.com. You can find me there. You can get to me to my social media there. You can message me there. You can call me from there.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I know you are super busy. It was a lot of fun. We'll talk to you soon, friend.
It was fun. I'll go have some pizza now.
Go have some pizza.
Vegan pizza.
Okay. Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
Donnie. Thanks.
See ya.
Alan.
Yo, what's up?
Are you sad that you were never part of the wedding industry? Now, we've interviewed a couple of people who I knew back from my wedding days, and there's some crazy shit.
I like the weddings that go well. I don't like being involved in other people's drama.
Right.
And it feels like that as a professional drama involver. That you become.
Yes.
Because it's not like you can just say, don't worry, we'll fix it tomorrow. Like, we'll do it again. We'll fix it tomorrow. Like, you can do it a lot of jobs, right? You're like, we missed our sales quota for Q2. All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna rally for Q3. No, that's called a divorce. You can't just do that. Like, this
or
is
a vow renewal or something, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the whole wedding industry, no, thank you. I'll leave that to people who can handle it, not me.
Yeah. I love if you are listening and you are one of my wedding industry peeps, I love you. I admire you. I think you're a badass, but boy, I do not miss the industry.
I don't even want to step foot in it. I don't even like going to weddings.
Oh, let's see. Who do we know that could get married that we could go and be each other's dates? Podcast spouses.
Leanne Rimes?
No, Leanne Rimes. And she's already married.
We could. Who I know this thing? I don't even know.
We need to get ourselves invited to somebody's, but we'd have fun together.
Listen, most of my people are in the baby making phase now. Yeah, so they've passed all that.
Let's get Josh Breckenridge married. That'd be a fun wedding.
That would be. Josh,
how do we get an invite? Josh, could you get married? Could you invite us?
James Harkness.
Oh, wow. Yeah, James.
Josh or James. or Lauren Yelekovich.
Shut the fuck up.
So Morgan James is already married. All right. Yeah, we'll just go through our whole guest list and see who's already married.
All right. No, seriously. Anyway. This is fun. It was we deviated a little bit from what we normally do. But, sometimes we like to keep you on your toes. And I love the chance encounter of, look, he's just randomly started working in the floral industry and kind of liked it and stuck with it. And then they chased him to do reality TV. And it's just so much fun. We want to know how you're out embracing chance and taking intentional risk for your own creative success. So, Alan, tell folks how they can share their personal stories with us.
On the Instagram.
Does it always have to be like a big roll up?
It's only two things. So I got to keep it fresh. On Instagram, Was It Chance? Was It Chance on Instagram, or Was It Chance podcast @gmail.com.
Thank you so much. You've been listening to Was It Chance, the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. I'm Heather Vickery.
And I'm Alan Seals.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, we will. Bye-bye.
Bye. You ready, Alan?
No, but let's do this.
Gotta get that food out of his swallow. Take a drink of
They've got the ASMR going on.
Okay, no. Still a no for me. It's a hard no.
That's a no for me, dog. That is a
That's
no.
going to be a no for me, dog. I love it. Woo!
Mobile phone companies say they offer home internet. But if their internet comes from a cell phone network, you should know. It's just phone internet, not home internet. Keep your home up to speed with Cox. Cox internet is faster and has more reliable download speeds than 5G home internet. Cox is the real home internet you're looking for. Based on Cox analysis of Ookla speed test intelligence data Q3 2022 and Cox serviceable areas, visit cox.com/internet for details. Mobile phone companies say they offer home internet. But if their internet comes from a cell phone network, you should know. It's just phone internet, not home internet. Keep your home up to speed with Cox. Cox internet is faster and has more reliable download speeds than 5G home internet. Cox is the real home internet you're looking for. Based on Cox analysis of Ookla speed test intelligence data Q3 2022 and Cox serviceable areas, visit cox.com/internet for details.